What's up, y'all? What's good? Dang it. I like when it's cold. Whew. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Bible School. Excuse me. I needed that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Bible School. And it's with a few minutes. And if you hear something in the background, that's y'all blowing up my phone. Yeah. So if you're wondering why my phone is going off like that, yeah, it's you guys. So how's everybody doing? How y'all doing? Let's wait a few more minutes so people could come on. So I'm gonna keep talking, and then I'm gonna repeat what I said. So first and foremost, I had an excellent day today. So I have an excellent day, and yeah, it was a great day today. So how was y'all day today? Hope y'all day was good. Cause I did this morning. I did do Sunday worship services, and yep, I did Sunday worship services. And earlier we talked about renewal. The message was renewal, and we learned so much about renewal. Yeah, we learned so much about it because we dive deep into what you guys want to know about renewal, and which is excellent. Now, Bible school how I'm gonna tell you how everything comes together. Welcome, y'all. I see more of y'all coming. So, Bible school is meant to teach you guys on different things in the Bible because the Bible has so many amazing stories. To be honest with you, it has so many amazing stories. Hello, guys. What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, how you doing? So, as I was saying, the Bible has so many amazing stories because we get to learn a lot about what the Bible entails. Because, the woman with the issue of blood, and sorry to the people who are eating. My bad, I didn't mean to say that, but I'm just saying we have different stories in the Bible, like the woman with the issue of blood, um, Mary, Magdalene, Joseph. What happened to Joseph? Oh yeah. Joseph. Y'all remember when Joseph was betrayed by his brothers? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Joseph was betrayed by his brothers. And you have stories like you have Daniel. That's funny. My biological name is Daniel. That's funny. So you have Daniel in the lion's den. You have that. You have David and Goliath. You have, oh my God, there's so much stories in the Bible. The Bible has so many amazing, amazing, beautiful stories because we get to learn about what excuse me, sorry about that, what the Bible is all about. Because when we read in the Bible, we get to learn so much of what happened. You have what happened in creation. You have Ruth. Y'all remember Ruth and Boaz? Y'all remember Boaz? Oh yes. Like, you know where your Boaz at? You know? Yeah. Yeah. There's so many amazing stories. So we're gonna read the book of Esther, because we're gonna continue in the book of Esther, because we learn about what goes on in the book of Esther, because Esther, we learn so much of what Esther is about. So we're gonna go into it, and we're going to learn a lot about, because as I said, we are going to be learning so much of what the Bible is about. We're not gonna share too much. You know what I mean? I'm just sharing all of them at once. I just want to give you guys a story. So that's why we're focusing on the book of Esther, where I teach you about what's in the book of Esther. What Esther is all about. You know what I mean? Because the book of Esther, it has a lot of things in there. It has so many things in there we can learn about, which is the beauty of it. So, yeah, we get to learn what's in the book of Esther because Esther has so many amazing things in it. Yes, there's so many amazing in it. So, I'm going to share with you this. Here's what I'm going to do. Cause I did do the verse of the day in Sunday worship service this morning, and y'all know Colossians 1 verse 28. Yeah. Now I'm gonna read that verse for a moment because it came to mind. Cause when we in the sermon this morning, we went through a lot of content, not just content. I mean, I'm not going to say that. We went through a lot of messages from God. That's what I meant to say, not content. Wrong choice of words. So yeah. So, and I want you guys to learn about, because guys, ooh, when you study the Bible, the Bible is the greatest book of them all. The Bible is the most powerful weapon in the Bible. What's up? What's up? What's up? This is Bible school, guys. If you're wondering, if people just come on, this is Bible school where we learn about what's in the Bible, and we are going to continue in the book of Esther. But I'm gonna, as I'm looking to go into it, I'm going to be showing you what I'm sharing. So yeah, so guys, when I mean there's so much that goes on in the Bible, yeah, there's so much going in the Bible. I know. You could. There's a way to translate it. There's a way to translate this. The I think there's a way to translate. So what I'm gonna do, and I got people who speak a different language. Here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to, if you're watching this on YouTube, what I'm gonna do is have you guys to translate it. There's a way to, there is a way to translate, because you have people who don't speak English. So I'm gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is to make sure to translate it, because there's gonna be people who are bilingual. You have people who speak Spanish, French, whatever it is. But I'm gonna be turning that into different languages. That's another thing, because you have I know you there's people who wants to who speak a different language. That's another thing, you know, which is the beauty of it. And for all those who will speak a different language, shout out to you guys. I know you guys don't understand what I'm saying, but don't worry, I will be making sure to translate this thing into, I'm going to translate it into whatever. I'm going to translate it to a different, to Spanish, French, you name it. So yeah. So let's go to Colossians 1 verse 28 for a minute. So it says, when we preach, warning every man. Mm. Y'all hear that? When we preach, not when, but whom we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Christ Jesus. So that's what Colossians 1 verse 28 says. And this is in the King James Version. Wow, that, because we read this morning, and for the people who I know, and I'm gonna say this, there is, as I said, I will be translating this in different languages, so don't worry about that. To the people, because there's people who actually do speak a different languages. I'm work on that. So, ooh, we read the book of Esther. So let's read Esther real quick. Esther 8. Then we're going to jump to Esther 9. So on that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, and Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Ammon, and gave it to Mordecai. And Esther said Mordecai over the house of Ammon. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away mischief of Haman the Haggagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I have favor in his sight, and the things seem right before the king, and I'll be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written in reverse the letters devised by Ammon the son of Hammedatha the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are all in the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people, or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Ammon, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at the time in the third month, that is, the month Sivan, the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces, unto every province according to the writing thereof. Yeah, to the writing thereof. And unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and then sent letters by post on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, and to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey, upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar. The copy of the writing of a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the post that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment. From the king's commandment. Ooh. And the decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel, blue and white. Oh, blue is my favorite color. Yeah. And with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. And then the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city, whithersoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Hello, darling. We're reading the book of Esther. I just read Esther 8. So I'm gonna share with you guys what Esther 8 is talking about. And after we do that, then we're gonna go to Esther 9. Right now we're doing a Bible school. We're doing a Bible school on the book on Esther. And we're gonna teach you guys about the different stories that's in the Bible. So before we continue to Esther 9, and before we continue, so let me tell you what does Esther 8 is talking about. So, and the thing is, we have to, the one thing when you're, I gotta make sure to put the version of the Bible. Like, for example, we just read from the King James Version. So, I got my notes. Let me put up my notes real quick. Yes, because I wrote down what Esther 8 is talking about. Give me a second. All right. Summary of Esther 8. And I think I found it. Hold on a minute. Oh, wait. I gotta make sure I put the word King James Version. Because if I don't put King James Version, yeah. In the KJV. Because we have to be specific. Found it. Okay, in my notepad. Okay, so Esther 8. So Esther 8, the story, it shifts. It did shift after Haman's downfall. So that's what you heard. So in Esther 8, in the King James Version, for verses 1 and 2, it is talking about Esther's reward and Mordecai's promotion. It's talking, so verse 1 and 2 is talking about Esther's reward and Mordecai's promotion. On the same day that Aman was executed, I'm not going to execute it. King Ahasuerus gave Queen Esther Amon's house. So Esther revealed that Mordecai was her cousin, and the king promoted Mordecai, giving him the king's ring that had once belonged to Ammon. So Mordecai over Ammon's estate. And then in verse 3 to 6 of Esther 8. Um, so Esther 8 verse 3 to 6, verse 3 verse 6 is talking about Esther's plea for her people. So verse 3 to 6 is saying that how Esther fell at the king's feet, weeping and begging him to reverse Ammon's decree of destruction against the Jews. So she expressed deep sorrow, saying she could not bear to see her people destroyed. And then verses 7 to 8 is talking about the king's response. It's talking about the response to what the king says. So what the king says, the king told Esther and Mordecai that Ammon's house had been given to Esther and that Ammon had been executed. He permitted them to write another decree in the king's name. Yeah, in the king's name, sealed with his ring, and to counter the former decree, since a royal command cannot be revoked. And then verses 9 through 14 of Esther 8 is talking about the new decree. What's up? Thank you for joining. Yeah, so Esther 8 verse 9 to 14 is talking about the new decree. So Mordecai, in that verse, Mordecai summoned the royal scribes and dictated a new decree. It was sent out of all the provinces in every language, granting the Jews the right to gather and to defend themselves and destroy anyone who attacked them. This decree was sealed with the king's ring and sent by swift couriers. I see a comment. Give me a minute. Yeah, sent by the couriers. So in verse 15 to 17 of Esther 8 is actually talking about the joy among the Jews. Mordecai, those last verses is 2 verses. Mordecai left the king's presence That's what he did. Mordecai left the king's presence, dressed in royal apparel, blue and white with a great crown, and a robe with fine linen, and purple. Yeah. So the city of Shushan, they rejoiced. For the Jews, there was light, gladness, joy, and honor. So many of the people of the land became Jews, and for fear of them fell upon the nations. So in summary, Esther 8 shows how God turned a decree of death into a decree of deliverance. So so um though the first law could not be undone. So what did God did? God gave his people a way to stand and defend themselves, bringing joy where there was once sorrow. That's what happened. Let me see what. Still blasting. Read John 6, verse 66. Many of Jesus' disciples turned away from him after he gave the teacher more about it. Okay, I would definitely do that. Okay, so that is what Esther 8 is talking about. So let's jump in. So if you have any questions, let me know. So let's go to Esther 9. So before we do, let me drink this real quick. If you wonder what I'm drinking, let me show you. Naked. I'm not talking me naked. The drink naked. And this have one thing I like about this. This has vitamin C, E, B6, and B12. Our bodies need this, which is cool. So let's go into Esther 9. Give me a second, guys. We're going to read Esther 9. Yeah, give me a second, guys. There we go. Yeah, so in the meantime, while I'm reading, I would have Esther 9. So that's how I'm pulling up Esther 9 on this summary. And then, yeah. So, and we're going to stop at Esther 9. Okay. So, Esther 9. Let's read Esther 9. And Esther 9 says, now in the 12th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them. Verse 2 of Esther 9. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and the officers of the king, they helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them, for Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated him. And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And what happened? And Parshadatha, and Dalphon, and Aspartha, and Paratha, and Adalia, and Aridatha, excuse me, and Parmashta, and Arisa, and Arida, and 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 Vigesta. So the 10 sons of Ammon, the son of Amadetha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid not their hand. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan, the palace, was brought before the king. And what did the king did? The king said unto Esther, the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan, the palace, and the 10 sons of Ammon. So all those people that I mentioned, the 10 sons of Ammon, and what have done in the rest of the king's provinces. Now what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. Or what is thy request further? And it shall be done. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are in Shushan to do tomorrow, also according unto this day's decree, and let Ammon's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanding it so to be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they hanged Ammon's 10 sons. For the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces, they gathered themselves together. They did gather themselves together and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 70 and 5,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested day, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. So therefore the Jews of the villages that dwell in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. And then what happened? What did Mordecai did? Mordecai wrote these things, and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and afar, to establish this among them, and they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of the same yearly, as the day wherein the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning into a good day. And they should make them days of feasting and joy, and sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor. And then what happened to the Jews? And the Jews undertook to do as they begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Ammon the son of Amadatha the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast that is, the lot, to consume them, and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device which he devised against the Jews should return upon his head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Purim. So therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto thee. So the Jews ordained, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed and upon all such as join themselves unto them. But as it should fall, and it should not fail, that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time of year. But that day should be remembered and kept throughout every generation. Every family, every province, and every city, and that these days appearing should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed. And then what did Esther do? Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm the second letter at Purim. And he sent the letters unto the Jews to 120 to the 120 and 7 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus, with words of peace and truth, to confirm these days of Purim in their times appointed, according as Mordecai the Jew and Esther the queen had enjoined them, and as they have decreed for themselves and for thy seed the matters of the fastings and their cry. So the last verse says, and the decree of Esther confirmed these matters to Purim, and it was written in the book. Yes, it was written in the book. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we just read Esther 9, and we're gonna dive deep into it. Yeah. So we're gonna do that. So, and funny thing, the shortest book in the shortest chapter in in Esther is, I might as well do chapter 10, Esther 10. But before I do 10, let me summarize. We will summarize it. So, Esther 9. So, verse 1 through 6 of Esther 9 is talking about the Jews. The Jews were defending themselves. That's what was going on in Esther 9, verse 1 through 6. The Jews were defending themselves. On the day Ammon had planned for the Jews' destruction, the opposite happened. So the Jews gained the upper hand over the enemies. No one could stand against them because fear of them fell upon all the people, and government officials supported them due to Mordecai's growing power. In Shushan, the Jews killed 500 men. To be honest with you, that you know what is a lot. That that's a lot of people. So verses 7 through 10 of Esther 9 is talking about the faith of Haman's sons. Haman has 10 sons. Dang, bruh. That's a lot of children. He be working that thing. So, yeah. So that's what the verse 7 to 10 is talking about in Esther 9. It's talking about the 10 sons of Ammon. They were also killed. All 10 of them. Oh my God, that's crazy. All 10 of Ammon's sons were killed. But the Jews did not take any spoil from their enemies. Wow, that's crazy. So, verses 11 to 15 is talking about the king's inquiry and Esther's request. So, in those verses, the king informed what the king did. The king informed Esther of the slaughter in Shushan. Because, oh my God, 10 kids. They kill Ammon's kids. Oh Lord. And then Esther requested that the Jews in Shushan to be allowed to continue defending themselves the next day, and that Haman's 10 sons be hanged on gallows. So guess what? The king responded. The king agreed, and the Jews killed an additional 300 men in Shushan. So that right there, that's 800 men. 800 800 men, because 500 plus 300, that's 800 men. So with Ammon's sons publicly displayed. So verse in chapter in Esther 9, in verses 16 through 19, verse 16 through 19 is talking about the victory across the provinces. So elsewhere throughout the provinces, the Jews killed 75,000 of their enemies. Yeah, that's what happened. The Jews killed 75,000 of their enemies. But again, they did not take any spoil. So afterward, they rested and they celebrated with fasting and gladness. The Jews in the villages and unveiled towns made the 14th day of Adar a day of joy and fasting, while those in Shushan celebrated on the 15th day. And I know y'all probably said what the word Adar means. Give me a second. In Esther 90 verse 20 to 28, it is talking about the establishment of Purim. So Mordecai wrote the letters. He wrote the letters to all the Jews to establish the annual feast of Purim on the 14th and of the 15 days of Adar, of the month. Adar means month. Adar, yes, what does it? Yeah, that's what Adar means. Adar, because it says the 14th, 15th days of Adar. Adar means month, days of the month, commemorating their deliverance from destruction and sorrow being turned into joy. So this was a perpetual observance for generations to come. And then further down in Esther 9, verse 29 to 32, in verse 29 to 32, that those last verses is talking about Queen Esther's confirmation. So verse 29 to 32 of Esther 9, it is talking about Queen Esther's confirmation. So Queen Esther and Mordecai confirmed the decree of Purim with authority, and it was written in the book, ensuring its remembrance among the Jews. So in summary of Esther 9 records the great reversal. The Jews, once marked for destruction, became victorious over their enemies. So what was meant for evil, it turned into a memorial of joy and deliverance through the Feast of Purim, a celebration of God's providence and protection. So that is what Esther 9 is talking about. So since Esther 10 is the shortest verse, we're gonna read it real quick since it's the shortest verse, and it's so Esther 10 is the shortest verse. So let's do it. It's only have three verses. And it says, and the king Ahasuerus laid a tribute upon the land and upon the isles of the sea, and all the acts of his power and of his might, and the declaration of the greatness of Mordecai. So whereunto the king advanced him. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia? So for Mordecai, the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seeds. So very short. Esther 10 is very short. So let's do this real quick. Um, let's go into my notepad real quick. Yeah, I just came out of the notepad. Let me go back in. So let's summarize. Let's summarize Esther 10. And it's very simple because it only has 3 verses. It only has 3 verses. Give me a second. Oh, found it. Okay. So, it's pretty much very simple. Since is Esther 10 is the shortest verse in the in Esther, in the book of Esther. So it's very simple. It's only 3 verses. Only 3 verses. So Esther. So verses 1 is actually saying about King Ahasuerus. King Ahasuerus, known as Xerxes, imposes tribute across his vast empire, including distant islands, emphasizing the reach and the authority of his reign. And then verse 2, the chapter, it highlights the greatness of Mordecai, who was promoted by the king. So his deeds, along with those Ahasuerus, are recorded in the chronicles of the kings of Media and Persia. And then verses 3, to close it off, yes, this is the shortest one. So Mordecai is a Jew. Mordecai, a Jew, is now second in command to the king. So that's what verse 3 is talking about. He is honored among his people, deeply respected, and knowing and seeking their welfare and speaking peace to all descendants. So the key themes here, the key themes here is this. Number 1, elevation of the faithful. Mordecai's rise from obscurity to prominence that reflects God's ability to elevate the humble for his purposes. That's 1. Number 2, the second key themes here, the second one is legacy of leadership. His leadership is marked by advocacy, peace, and prosperity for the Jewish people. And the third key theme is divine providence. Though God is never explicitly, I'm going to say it this way. Though God is never explicitly named in Esther, his hand is evident in the orchestration of events that protect and uplift his people. So that is what Esther 10 is talking about. And Esther 10 is the shortest one. Yeah, it's the shortest verse in there. And I like that. So, hold on a minute. Oh. Oh, as a matter of fact, we finished Esther. Okay. So, okay. So we finished Esther from Esther 1. So Esther as the shortest wow. Okay. So since I might as well summarize from Esther 1 through 10. So let's do that. Let's summarize. We're gonna we're gonna summarize 1 through okay. Hold on a minute. Hold on. Give me a minute, guys. There we go. I got my notepad here. So I'm going to share with you the takeaway that we learned. So since Esther has only 10 chapters, and so we learned so much about Esther. So we're going to go through what we learned and the overall takeaway from Esther 1 through 10. So in chapter 1 of Esther, we learn about Vashti's. Excuse me, sorry about that. We learn about Vashti's refusal. So I didn't even realize Esther as the shortest chapter of Exodus 1 to 10, which is amazing. So we read Esther 1 all the way through 10. So which is a beauty. So chapter 1, it's all about Vashti's refusal. King Ahasuerus hosts a lavish feast, and then that's what we learn. And then Queen Vashti refuses to appear before the guests, so leading to her removal as queen. So this opens the door to a new queen. And then in chapter 2, we've learned we learn that Esther becomes queen in chapter 2. We learn because Esther, who is a Jewish orphan, she's an orphan who Esther was raised by her cousin Mordecai. So is chosen as queen. And then Mordecai um uncovers a plot against the king and save his life. So he heard about the plot against the king, and then Mordecai saved the king's life, and that's in chapter 2. And then in chapter 3, it talks about how Haman was plot. There's a plot. Like Haman was putting together a plot. Haman, a high-ranking official, is enraged when Mordecai refused to bow to him. He convinces the king to issue a decree to annihilate all Jews. And then in chapter 4 of Esther, we learn about it's talking about for such a time as this. So in chapter 4, Mordecai urges Esther to intervene because she hesitates but ultimately decides to risk her life to save her people, saying, "If I perish, I perish." So, and then in chapter 5 of the book of Esther, where we learn about how Esther's strategy begins, we learn about that in that area. Oops, something else. Oh, sorry about that. So we learn about in chapter 6, not 6, before we go to 6. In chapter 5, we learn about Esther's strategy, how it begins. So Esther did invite the king. Esther invited the king and Aman to a banquet, setting the stage for her bold request. And then in chapter 6, Mordecai was honored. Yes, Mordecai was honored. The king, reminded of Mordecai's earlier loyalty, honors in publicly, ironically, through Haman. And then in chapter 7, Haman's downfall. Yes, Haman's downfall. In chapter 7, it talks about Haman's downfall. So at a second banquet, Esther reveals Haman's plot. So the king is enraged. The king was upset, furious, and Ammon is hanged on the gallows to build that he built for Mordecai. So he was planning to get Mordecai, but turns out he was the one that got hanged on the gallows, not Mordecai. And then chapter 8, we just read that. we just read that. We learned about the Jews empowered. So in chapter 8, the Jews was empowered. So we learned that Esther and Mordecai they both are given authority. So the new decree allows the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. And then that's what we learned in chapter 8. And then in chapter 9 of Esther, victory and Purim. So chapter 9 is talking about the victory in Purim. So the Jews triumph over the adversities. That's what we learned from chapter 9 of Esther. Yeah, it's because the Jews triumph over the adversities. So the Feast of Purim is established to commemorate their deliverance. And then chapter 10, we learn about Mordecai's legacy. Mordecai's legacy. So Mordecai is elevated in second in command. He is celebrated for his leadership and advocacy for the Jewish people. So the overall takeaway for all of these from Esther 1 through 10, the takeaway is the first thing is God's providence is silent. God's providence is silent but sovereign. So through God's name is never mentioned. God's name was never mentioned. His hand is evident in every twist and turn. The second overall takeaway that we learn from Esther 1 all the way through 10 is courage can shift the nations. Courage can shift the nations. So Esther's bravery and Mordecai's wisdom show how faith fueled action can reverse injustice. And then the third overall takeaway that we learn from Esther's 1 through 10 is the strategic positioning matters. It does matters. So Esther's rise wasn't random. It was not random. It was preparation for purpose. So her story is a blueprint for stepping into divine assignment. It was her divine assignment to become queen. That's why she was appointed queen. It was in her birthright to become queen. So, and then the fourth overall takeaway from Esther's 1 through 10 is legacy, where Esther not Esther, like Mordecai was building a legacy. So a legacy is built through advocacy. So Mordecai's influence wasn't just political. It wasn't political. It was deeply spiritual, rooted in protecting and uplifting its people. So now we understand what Esther was doing, because we learn about how Esther was raised to become queen. She was appointed queen by the king. So we learn a lot about. So we read through chapter 1 through 10, and we just completed Esther, the book of Esther. I didn't realize that Esther was the shortest one. So no wonder the Holy Spirit lead us to do the book of Esther. So the Holy Spirit told me to keep going and to finish it off. I didn't even know it stopped at 10, which is amazing. So next week we're going to dive into a different chapter. So let's see what the Holy Spirit wants us to go in. Let's see here. So next week, let's see where the Holy Spirit is leading us to do. All right, let's see which chapter the Holy Spirit is leading us. Give me a second. Okay. So next week we are going to go into the book of Daniel. That is so funny because my name is my birth name is Daniel. So that is funny. That's my name. Daniel is my name. So now next week Sunday, we are going to be reading the book of Daniel. We're going to read Daniel 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to read 1, 2, 3, and 4. So stay tuned next week. We're going to learn about what about the book of Daniel. So that's funny. My name is Daniel, and the Holy Spirit is leading me to read the book of Daniel. That is funny. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. So we're gonna focus. So that's next week. That's next week Sunday. We are going to be reading the book of Daniel. We're going to read the book of Daniel. We're going to do chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to learn what about the book of Daniel. So thank you for joining everyone. For everyone who's here, God bless you. I appreciate y'all comments. I see people are enjoying the learning about the Bible. As I said before, the Bible has so many different stories, and that's the beauty that we get to dive into the book of the Bible so we can learn about what the Bible is, because the Bible has so many guys. When I mean the Bible has so many stories, it ain't funny. Let me give you a hold on a minute. Let me tell you how many stories are in how many stories are in the Bible. Because you guys, we're gonna go because I know you guys want to learn about what happened. We're gonna talk about the woman with the issue of blood. We're gonna talk about we're gonna read the book of Ruth, Boaz. We're gonna read a lot of we're gonna learn about Joseph. We're gonna work about Joseph, how his brothers betrayed him. We're gonna oh my God, there is so many stories in the Bible. Oh, I'm gonna tell you how many in a minute. Yes, because I have it here. And you guys are going to be shocked. You guys are going to be shocked how many stories are in the Bible as of 2025 in all versions. Not just that's where you got to be specific. So I'm going to tell you how many stories are in the Bible as of 2025 in all versions. So let me tell you that. And when I tell you this, you guys are going to shock. You guys are going to shock, because it is a great question. It is a great question. Now, it's one that invites both spiritually and curiosity. Because I know you guys wondering how many stories are in the Bible as of 2025. I know you guys are probably asking this question, because I'm gonna say this: there's no single universal agreed upon number of stories in the Bible, because it depends on how one defines the story and which version of the Bible is being referenced. So I'm going to give you a breakdown to help you clarify this so you guys can know. So I'm going to give you the factors that affect the count. You have the Bible versions. The Protestant Bible, in the Protestant Bibles, it typically contains 66 books. There are 66 books in the Bible. For the Catholic, the Bibles include the Apocrypha. The Apocrypha. Yes, guys, Apocrypha. I'm going to tell you what that means in a minute. I know you guys probably said, what does Apocrypha mean? Hold on. Including the Apocrypha. And this version this is 73 books that is in the Catholic. It's the Catholic Bible. Yes, guys. The Catholic Bibles include the Apocrypha, totaling 73 books. And in the Orthodox Bible, yes, guys, they have three different Bibles here in a version. So they have the Orthodox Bible contains up to 81 books. So the story I'm going to give you the story definition real quick. So some scholars count individual events like David and Goliath or Jesus feeding the 5,000. So others group narrative arcs like Joseph's journey from slavery to leadership as single stories. And then some stories are interwoven or repeated across books. For example, the Gospels. So the estimated range of stories here, most estimate it suggests that there are 600 to 800 distinct stories or events that is in the Bible as we speak. I know. Let that sink in for a minute. Yes, that's the most estimate suggest there are 600 to 800 distinct stories or events that is in the Bible as of 2025. So the story of hope framework in some teaching ministries identifies 40 key redemptive events that summarize the Bible's overarching narrative. So, why it matters? The Bible isn't just a book. Is the Bible is just isn't just a book of stories. It's a tapestry of divine encounters with human struggles and spiritual truths. Because whether you're teaching, counseling, or creative content, knowing how to draw some of these stories with purpose can deepen your ministry impact. So here's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be creating a series called The 40 Stories of Healing. So there's going to be a series on that on the channel. So I'm going to be doing a series on YouTube. We're going to be doing a series on the 40 Stories of Healing and the Woman of Courage in Scripture. So those are the series that are coming soon. So we're gonna do that theme series, and we're gonna focus on those theme series, and we're gonna do episodes on the 40 stories of healing and women of courage in scripture. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. So if you are new, thank you for welcome all the new people. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you guys for joining. And if you wanna see these series, make sure to subscribe to the podcast YouTube channel by go to youtube.com/. Powerful Moments Podcast, and that's where you go. Hit that subscribe button and make sure to turn on the notification bell to know whenever I post. So the people on TikTok, whichever platform you're watching this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. Go ahead to hear more series. Cause there's gonna be more series to come, and there is other things coming soon. So starting this week. This week, tomorrow we are going to be continuing our things. So the men's night, I told you about this morning. Men's night is going to be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Tuesday we have a women's night. We have our women's night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on Wednesday we have our Bible study. Our Bible study starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be going live at 6:30, and then 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then on Thursday we are going to have our Creative Arts Ministry, which we are going to go live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to start with the meeting first. We're going to have a meeting for the Powerful Moments podcast, and it's going to be every Thursday at 6. Every Thursday at 6, we're going to have a meeting. So we're going to have an hour worth of from 6 to 7, we're going to do a meeting for the podcast. And then from 7 to 8, we're going to we're gonna do the creative arts thing. We're gonna go into the creative ministry thing, and then on Fridays, we have our young people night is this Friday. Our young people night is Friday. So join us on Friday, this Friday, and join us at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when our youth night is, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then on Saturday, we have an event that I will tell you guys. Make sure to follow us on our social media platform. All of our and the announcements, all the announcements are on this website. If you go to prayerformomentspodcast.com/announcements, all the announcements will be mentioned there. Everything that you need to know is going to be on that website. Every announcement, everything that is going to be happening is going to be there, and also is going to be on the official website as well. So all the announcements are going to be on there, and then the schedule for the thing is going to be on the website by going to powerfulmomentspodcast.com/podcast. So go on that website, and it's going to take you into the site. It's going to take you into the official website. All right, guys, that being said, thank you for joining. I appreciate all you guys, and if you need prayers, support, go into that same website I just told you about. Go into that website. That website has everything you need to know. It has a section where you go, if you want to partner with Performance Podcast, you can. If you want to collaborate, you want to whatever, it's there, and all the schedule will be there. All right, guys. God bless you. Have a wonderful, blessed night. Thank you for joining Bible School. Shout out to everybody who joined. Shout out to Veronica. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Angel. Thank you for joining. Thank you everybody for joining. I appreciate you people on TikTok. Thank you. I appreciate you. Shout out to everybody who's here. Shout out to Erin. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to all you guys. Shout out to Justine and all you guys. Shout out to Jules and Alea. Ayla. Shout out to Alex. Thank you for joining. Ethan. Thank you, Ethan, for joining. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Coops and Dylan, Lily, Aubrey, Scarlett. Shout out to all you guys. Peyton, Henry, June, Aki, Lucas, Tay, Schaefer, Brian, and Waleed. Thank you for joining. Thank you to the people on YouTube too. Shout out to Nocturnal Domain, Reg Joe. Thank you for joining. Automud, thank you for joining. You guys are awesome. I know you don't speak I know you don't speak English, but shout out to you. I will be translating all these things. We're gonna put all the sermons and stuff. It's gonna be in different languages. So stay tuned, guys. So the people who don't speak English, I got you. I got you. So shout out to all you guys. Thank you. I appreciate all you guys. And yeah. That being said, I am going to GO to the BO to the free O to the EO, because I gotta go take care of some things, and I gotta finish my assignment for my class because the due date is today at 12 midnight. So guys, God bless you. Have a wonderful, blessed day, either wherever you're watching this. Alright, peace, love.